There is a man. He has lost everything. His business, gone. His marriage, collapsed. His identity, shattered into pieces he no longer recognizes. He is sitting on the floor of an empty apartment at 3 in the morning, and he is not crying. He is not panicking. He is not scrolling through his phone looking for distraction. He is simply sitting, breathing, still. And somehow, in the middle of the worst storm of his life, he is unbreakable. You want to know his secret? It is not therapy. It is not medication. It is not a motivational speech or a self-help book he read on the weekend. It is something far older, far simpler, and far more powerful than anything modern psychology has ever created. It is a discipline, a Zen discipline, one that monks have practiced for over 1,000 years in the silent mountains of Japan and China, one that warriors used before walking into battle, one that artists used to create masterpieces that outlived empires. And today, in the next 90 minutes, I am going to give you all of it. Not the watered-down version, not the Instagram version, not the 5-minute meditation hack you've seen 100 times before. The real thing. The discipline that, if you truly understand it and truly practice it, will make your mind so strong, so clear, so deeply rooted that nothing this world throws at you will ever break you again. Stay with me. This is going to change everything. Before we begin, I want you to understand something. Most people think mental strength means not feeling pain. They think an unbreakable mind is a mind that doesn't suffer, a mind that doesn't doubt, a mind that never breaks down, never questions, never cries at 3 a.m. on the floor. They are completely wrong. An unbreakable mind is not a mind without cracks. It is a mind that knows what to do with the cracks. The Japanese have a concept, kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. When something breaks, you don't hide the damage, you fill it with gold. You make the fractures beautiful, you make them part of the strength. That is what this discipline teaches. That is what we are building today. To understand the discipline, you must first understand what Zen actually is, because most people have no idea. They think Zen is sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed, trying to think about nothing. They think it's incense and temple bells and a bald monk in orange robes. And yes, those things exist within Zen, but they are not Zen itself. Zen is a way of being. It is a complete revolution in how you relate to your own mind. The word Zen comes from the Chinese word chan, which itself comes from the Sanskrit word dhyana, meaning deep meditative absorption. But when Zen reached Japan in the 12th century, it became something unique, something fierce, something almost ruthless in its pursuit of clarity. Zen masters were not gentle, they were warriors of the mind. There are stories of masters who would shout in students' faces to wake them up, who would refuse to answer questions for weeks, even months, forcing the student to find the answer within themselves, who would hand a student a paradox, a koan that the logical mind could never solve, just to exhaust the thinking mind until something deeper emerged. Why so harsh? Why so demanding? Because Zen understood something that modern society desperately tries to ignore. Comfort is the enemy of the unbreakable mind. Your mind becomes strong exactly the way your muscles become strong, through resistance, through challenge, through the deliberate practice of sitting with discomfort until the discomfort no longer controls you. Zen is not about escaping life's difficulties. It is about becoming so deeply present within those difficulties that they lose their power over you. Let me give you the 3 foundational pillars of Zen practice. Everything we discuss today will build on these 3 pillars. Pillar 1, Zazen, the practice of just sitting. Pillar 2, Mushin, the state of no mind. Pillar 3, Shoshin, the beginner's mind. These are not just meditation techniques, these are complete philosophies of being. And when you truly embody all three, something extraordinary happens to your mind. Let's go deep into each one. Zazen. The word literally means seated meditation, but calling Zazen seated meditation is like calling the ocean water. Technically correct, completely inadequate. Zazen is the core technology of Zen. It is the furnace in which the unbreakable mind is forged. Here is what makes Zazen different from every other form of meditation you may have encountered. In most Western meditation practices, you are taught to do something with your mind. Focus on your breath, visualize a peaceful place, repeat a mantra, guide your thoughts in a specific direction. In Zazen, you do nothing. You sit, you breathe, and you let the mind be exactly as it is. That sounds simple. That sounds almost boring. It is, without question, one of the most difficult things a human being can do. Because when you sit in true Zazen, when you remove every distraction, every task, every purpose, your mind will immediately revolt. It will drag you into the past. It will catapult you into the future. It will generate fears, fantasies, arguments, memories, desires, anxieties, an endless waterfall of mental noise. And most people, the moment they encounter this noise, do one of two things. They fight it. They try to force silence, and the fighting creates more noise. Or they surrender to it. They get lost in the thoughts, and the practice collapses. Zazen teaches a third way. You witness the noise. You don't engage with it. You don't push it away. You simply notice it, the way you might notice clouds passing across the sky. The clouds are real, but you are not the clouds. You are the sky. This is not a metaphor. This is a direct description of what happens in the brain during deep Zen meditation practice. Neuroscientists studying experienced Zen meditators have found something remarkable. When a thought arises in the brain of a beginner, it immediately captures their attention. It pulls them in. The thought and the thinker become fused. But in the brain of an experienced Zen meditator, the thought arises and the meditator notices the thought without being captured by it. There is a split-second gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap lies all of human freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our choice to choose. In our choice lies our growth. Viktor Frankl said that, a Holocaust survivor who understood this truth not from meditation, but from the most horrific suffering imaginable. Zazen creates that space, deliberately, systematically. Through daily practice, the gap grows wider. And as the gap grows wider, you become less and less reactive, less and less controlled by your automatic responses, less and less imprisoned by your own emotions and fears. This is what makes the mind unbreakable. Not the absence of difficult feelings, but the space between the feeling and your response to it. Now let me tell you how Zazen is actually practiced, not the spiritual version, the practical, day-to-day version that you can begin tonight. You sit on a cushion, on a chair, on the floor. It doesn't matter. Spine straight, not rigid, chin slightly tucked, hands resting in your lap, left hand cradling right hand, thumbs lightly touching. Eyes, this is important, eyes half open, gaze directed downward at a 45-degree angle, soft and unfocused. Most Western meditation traditions tell you to close your eyes. Zen does not, and there is a profound reason for this. Closing your eyes encourages dissociation. It encourages you to escape reality into an inner dream world. Zen practice is not about escaping reality. It is about being fully present within reality. So you keep your eyes open, barely. You stay here. You stay in this world. You just become very, very quiet within it. Then you breathe. Not controlled breathing, not counted breathing, natural breathing. You simply notice the breath as it moves in and out of your body. When your mind wanders, and it will wander constantly, you gently, without judgment, return to the breath. No drama, no frustration, no story about how bad you are at meditation. Just return, again and again and again. This simple act of returning without judgment, without force, is the entire training. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought and return to the present moment, you are doing a mental rep. You are building the muscle of awareness, the muscle of non-reactivity, the muscle of choice. Start with 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. The duration matters less than the consistency. Every single day, not when you feel like it, every day. Because here is what most people miss. The days when you don't feel like sitting, when you're anxious, distracted, agitated, your mind is running like a storm, those are the most important days to sit. Those are the days when the real training happens. Anyone can meditate when they're calm. There was a famous story of a Zen student who came to his master and said, "Master, I am too busy to meditate. I have so much to do. My life is chaotic. I cannot find the time." The master replied, "If you are that busy, then you need to meditate twice as long." The student was confused. "But master, I just said I have no time." The master looked at him and said, "Yes, that is exactly why. A mind that cannot find stillness is a mind that is not in control of itself. It is a mind that is controlled by circumstances, by urgency, by reaction. And a mind that is controlled by circumstances is a fragile mind. Zazen builds the capacity to be still, especially when everything around you is moving. That is the first pillar of the unbreakable mind. Mushin. Mu meaning no or empty. Shin meaning mind or heart. No mind. Empty mind. If Zazen is the practice, Mushin is the state that the practice produces. And I want to be very clear about what Mushin is, because it is one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of Eastern philosophy. Mushin does not mean having no thoughts. It does not mean being blank, vacant, switched off, or mentally absent. Mushin means being free from the tyranny of thought. It means thoughts arise and pass without gripping you, without claiming you, without telling you who you are or what you must feel. Here is the difference. The ordinary mind is like a man standing in a river, desperately trying to grab every piece of debris that floats by. He grabs this thought, holds it, examines it, worries about it. Then he grabs another, then another. He is exhausted, he is soaked, he can barely stand, and the river never stops. The Mushin mind is like a man standing on the bank of the river, watching everything flow by, clear, dry, fully aware of everything in the river, but not controlled by any of it. The thoughts still come, the emotions still arise, but they pass through, not over. Now, here is where this becomes truly extraordinary, and where researchers study elite performers, not just meditators, but top athletes, surgeons, musicians, military special forces operators. They consistently find a similar mental state during peak performance. The mind is quiet. The analytical mind steps back, and something else takes over. Something faster, cleaner, more intuitive. Athletes call it the zone. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called it flow. Jazz musicians call it being in the pocket. Zen calls it Mushin. And the fascinating thing is that Mushin is not the absence of expertise. It is expertise fully integrated into the body and nervous system, so that it no longer requires conscious deliberation. When a Zen archer releases an arrow in Mushin, they are not thinking, pull back the string, aim, release. The entire action flows from somewhere deeper than thought, from somewhere more reliable than thought. When a Zen swordsman responds to an attack in Mushin, they are not calculating, they are not strategizing. They have trained so deeply that the response is instant, clean, and free from hesitation. And hesitation, the Zen masters understood, is the child of fear, and fear is the child of a mind that is too attached to outcome. The Mushin state eliminates the gap between intention and action. It eliminates the self-conscious observer who second-guesses, and always arrives too late. But here is the part of Mushin that most people miss entirely. Most people think Mushin is only relevant to extreme performance, combat, athletics, crisis. It is not. Mushin is most needed and most powerful in everyday life. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Someone said something cutting, something unfair, something designed to hurt. What happened in your mind? For most people, the mind immediately reacts. A story begins. They think I'm worthless. They're trying to humiliate me. I need to defend myself. I need to strike back. And from that story comes a response, usually one you later regret. The Mushin mind does something completely different. It receives the criticism, feels it fully, doesn't suppress it, doesn't deny it, but it doesn't immediately attach a story to it. It pauses in the space between stimulus and response. It asks, what is actually happening here? What is true? What response serves me best? And from that clarity comes an action that is clean, free from reactivity, free from ego. This is why Mushin creates an unbreakable mind. A mind in Mushin cannot be easily provoked, cannot be easily manipulated, cannot be destabilized by criticism, failure, or chaos, because it doesn't cling to any single interpretation of events. It remains fluid, responsive, awake. How do you cultivate Mushin in daily life? Through 3 practices. Practice 1. Eliminate the commentary. Most of us run a constant internal commentary on everything we experience. This is boring. This is scary. I'm not good at this. Why is this happening to me? The commentary is not the experience. It is the mind's story about the experience. And the commentary is almost always more painful than the experience itself. Begin noticing your commentary, not trying to stop it, just noticing it, labeling it. Ah, there's the story again. This simple act of noticing creates distance between you and the commentary, and distance is freedom. Practice 2. Single task completely. In Zen monasteries, monks wash the dishes only to wash the dishes. They eat only to eat. They walk only to walk. This is not inefficiency. This is training. Every time you give a task your complete, undivided presence, you're practicing Mushin. You are training the mind to be fully here, fully engaged, fully awake in this single moment. Multitasking is not a sign of productivity. It is a sign of a mind that cannot settle, a mind that is always somewhere else, and a mind that is always somewhere else is a fragile mind. Practice 3. Let outcomes go. Mushin is impossible when the mind is desperately attached to outcome. When you must succeed, when you cannot fail, when the result carries your entire sense of self-worth, the mind tightens, performance drops, fear takes over. Before any important action, any conversation, any performance, any challenge, practice this. Give your best effort. Then release all attachment to the outcome. Not because outcomes don't matter, they do, but because the quality of your action in the present moment is the only thing you actually control. Of all the concepts in Zen, Shoshin, the beginner's mind, may be the most radical and the most immediately applicable to your daily life. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki expressed it perfectly in a single sentence that I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Read that again. Really let it land, because it contradicts almost everything modern culture tells you. Modern culture worships expertise. It worships certainty. It worships the feeling of knowing. We are constantly pushing to become experts, to have all the answers, to never be caught not knowing something. And Zen says that is exactly what makes the mind brittle. The expert mind is a closed mind. It has organized reality into neat categories. It knows what things mean, what people are like, what is possible and what is not. And this very certainty, this very expertise, makes it rigid, makes it unable to see what is actually there, because it is too busy seeing what it expects to be there. The beginner's mind is an open mind. It approaches every situation, even familiar ones, with curiosity rather than conclusion, with questions rather than answers, with the genuine possibility that it might be wrong, might be missing something, might be about to discover something new. And this openness, this radical, humble openness, is one of the greatest sources of strength a mind can possess. Why does this create an unbreakable mind? Because the mind that must be right is a fragile mind. Think about this. When you are deeply attached to being right, to your current interpretation being correct, to your current identity being the truth, what happens when reality contradicts you? It breaks you, or it forces you to deny reality. Neither of these is strength. The beginner's mind can receive contradiction without shattering. It can be wrong without crisis. It can encounter the unexpected without panic, because it was never claiming to have all the answers in the first place. Shoshin turns every failure into a lesson, every criticism into data, every unexpected obstacle into an invitation to learn something new. The expert says, "This shouldn't be happening." The beginner says, "Interesting. What can I learn from this?" One response creates suffering, the other creates growth. There is a story, perhaps the most famous story in all of Zen, that illustrates Shoshin. A professor of philosophy visited a Zen master. He had read many books, he had many degrees, he was very proud of his knowledge. The master offered him tea. He placed the cup before the professor and began to pour. The tea filled the cup. The master kept pouring. The tea overflowed into the saucer. Still, the master poured. The professor watched in disbelief, then cried, "Stop! It is already full. No more will go in." The master set down the teapot and said quietly, "You are like this cup. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Your mind, right now, is it full? Full of certainty about who you are? Full of fixed ideas about what is possible? Full of conclusions about other people, about yourself, about the nature of your limitations? The unbreakable mind is an empty cup, not empty of knowledge, empty of fixed conclusions about what knowledge means. Shoshin in practice means doing 5 things regularly. 1. Ask more questions than you make statements. In any conversation, in any situation, genuinely ask yourself, what am I missing? What might I be wrong about? Not as a performance of humility, but as a genuine inquiry. 2. Regularly do things you are bad at. This is direct beginner's mind training. When you are bad at something, the expert identity collapses. You are forced to be a student again. This is uncomfortable. This is essential. 3. Listen to disagreement without immediately defending yourself. When someone contradicts your view, your instinct is to defend. Shoshin practice says, pause. Actually hear what they're saying. Ask yourself if there is anything true in it before you respond. 4. Read and expose yourself to ideas that challenge your current worldview. Not to abandon your values, but to stress test them. The beliefs that survive genuine challenge become stronger. The ones that can't probably needed to be released anyway. 5. Approach the familiar as if for the first time. Your morning walk, your daily commute, a meal you've eaten 100 times, your relationship with someone you've known for years. What are you not seeing? What have you stopped noticing because you think you already know? Every moment you approach with fresh eyes is a moment of genuine living, and genuine living, full presence, full attention, full engagement, is what Zen is ultimately pointing toward. I need to speak about something that most teachers of Zen and meditation avoid because it's uncomfortable, because it doesn't sell well, because it contradicts the image of serene, blissful meditators sitting peacefully in sunlit rooms. But if I don't tell you this, I would be doing you a disservice. The path to the unbreakable mind is not always peaceful. Sometimes it is terrifying. There is a phenomenon that spiritual traditions across the world have documented. Christian mystics called it the dark night of the soul. Buddhist teachers call it falling into the void. Zen calls it, with characteristic directness, the great doubt. Here is what happens. As your practice deepens, as the Zazen strips away layer after layer of mental noise and habitual distraction, you eventually encounter the foundational layer of your identity, the bedrock of who you think you are. And often, that bedrock is not solid ground. Often it is fear, or emptiness, or a grief that has never been fully felt, or a fundamental uncertainty about reality that most people spend their entire lives running from. And when you stop running, when the practice of Zazen removes all the escape routes, you have to face it. This can feel like falling, like dissolution, like the mind is fragmenting. Many people stop their practice at this point. They conclude that meditation is not for them or that something has gone wrong. In fact, everything has gone right. What is breaking is not you. What is breaking is the false self, the constructed identity, the performed certainty, the elaborate psychological structures you built to protect yourself from your deepest fears. And when those structures break, when the false self dissolves, what remains? That is the question Zen points toward. That is the question the dark night is asking. And the answer, when you are brave enough to stop running and truly sit with the question, the answer is not nothing. What remains is awareness itself, clear, quiet, unshakable awareness. A presence that was never constructed and therefore cannot be destroyed. The Zen masters called this Kensho, a glimpse of your original nature, the mind before concepts, the self before stories. And once you have touched that, once you have felt even for a moment the part of you that is fundamentally unbreakable, nothing is ever quite the same again. You know where to return, even in the middle of the worst storm, even when everything falls apart. You know there is a still point at the center of your being that no circumstance can touch. That is the unbreakable mind. Not a mind that doesn't suffer, a mind that knows its own deepest nature and trusts it absolutely.
Everything we have explored, Zazen, Mushin, Shoshin, the dark night, the unbreakable foundation, these are not concepts to understand intellectually and then file away. They are practices, lived practices. So I want to close with something very practical, very specific. Here is how you begin, starting today. Morning, 15 minutes of Zazen. Before your phone, before coffee if possible, before the noise of the world enters. 15 minutes of sitting, just breathing, just witnessing the mind. Every day, without exception. Throughout the day, single tasking. Pick one activity each day that you do completely, fully here. No phone beside you, no part of your mind somewhere else. Wash the dishes and just wash the dishes. Have a conversation and just have that conversation. Give one thing each day your complete presence. When challenged, the 3-breath practice. Whenever you face a difficult moment, a conflict, a disappointment, a sudden fear, before reacting, take 3 slow, conscious breaths. This is not a breathing technique. This is the gap. This is the space between stimulus and response. 3 breaths is enough to move from reaction to choice. Evening, the 3 questions. Before sleep, ask yourself, where was I fully present today? Where did I react from fear rather than choice? What am I holding on to that I could release? Not as self-judgment, as honest inquiry, the beginner's mind turned towards your own day. Weekly, do something hard, something that makes you uncomfortable, something you might fail at, a cold shower, a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a physical challenge, a creative attempt in a field where you're a beginner. Not for the result, for the training, for the practice of being present in the middle of resistance. These are not dramatic practices. They will not make headlines, they will not impress anyone at a dinner party, but practice them faithfully, consistently, honestly, for 6 months, for a year, and something will shift in you that cannot be undone. You will notice that circumstances which once destabilized you no longer do, not because those circumstances have changed, but because your relationship to them has. You will notice that your mind is cleaner, quieter, more present, more capable of clear action in the middle of difficulty. You will notice, perhaps slowly, perhaps in a moment of sudden clarity, that you are becoming someone who does not break. Not because you have become invincible, because you have become deeply, genuinely, unshakably present. And presence, complete presence, is the root of all real strength.